All right, welcome guys to the newest episode of the Rogue Ignition podcast. We are back. We are ready to go over this past weekend, and we want to welcome on Graham from Averagef1Consumer onto the podcast. Thanks for joining us, Graham.
What's up, baby? We're here. Rogue Ignition, baby. I'm hyped. Let's go.
So happy to have you, brother. Monaco was a nice weekend, full of fun storylines, interesting controversies, so I'm excited to get us going.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a good episode. I'm excited. Monaco, obviously, it's not exactly the most interesting track. Obviously, we usually have a pretty boring race in Monaco. This year, however, not so boring.
Yeah, a good amount of stuff happened throughout the whole week.
Yeah, not very surprised in a good way. I did not expect anything entertaining. Even through most of the race, I was like, my content is going to suck from this race. But then we got blessed. Yes,
we did. Yeah, I want to kind of just start off with a little bit of a teaser that Ferrari were coming into the weekend as probable favorites with the engine regulations from Mercedes. And then their slow corner combinations, a little bit with renewed Hamilton's confidence and him being able to kind of power through during qualifying and during free practice. It was definitely something that was pretty impressive to see from him over the weekend. And we saw a good performance from him overall during the race too. Mm-hmm. But it was definitely looked like Ferrari was going to be the powerhouse for this entire weekend.
That's what I like to call the Ferrari cycle. Because you always think they're going to do it, and then they never do it.
Yep, exactly.
It's just how it goes. Because I would say they have the higher driver caliber overall for sure. Mm-hmm. And then assuming it would be an equal playing field with this new Mercedes engine, it was pretty convincing thinking that Lewis or Charles could take it, even through practice. But that's what Ferrari does to you. Luckily, I'm not a Ferrari fan myself, but if I was, I'd be pretty upset.
This guy is.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Charles is stuck in a new year-long situationship with Ferrari that you hope goes well in the start, and you keep prolonging things. Inevitably, it's going to go bad, and it's going to continue to go bad. But his perseverance through this terrible partnership that's had some good moments is so delightful to see, but definitely didn't bear a lot of fruit over the weekend.
Yeah.
And he put on the engagement ring with Ferrari. Like, he just signed a massive extension. So Charles fans, you better get comfortable in red because he is going to be there seemingly for his entire career, it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I am a Ferrari fan, as you guys know. So
I'm so sorry.
This is a little bit mixed feelings for me. Obviously, I love Charles. He is one of my favorite drivers. I mean, even on and off the grid. So I am excited that he's staying with Ferrari, but at the same time, honestly, in my opinion, I think for his own good, he should have left. But, I mean, that's
the issue with that, and we don't have to go down a super crazy rabbit hole, but, like, it's difficult to see where he would even go. Because, obviously, like, I just can't picture him in any other top team besides Ferrari. Like, maybe the second Red Bull seat, but, like, everything else seems pretty padlocked right now, unless somebody else moves and he can fill a spot. He doesn't really have anywhere to go, so I don't really blame him, honestly.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, Graham, I do want your take. What if Russell left Mercedes with the beef he's been having with Antonelli?
Same deal. I don't know where he would go because it's not like top teams are, chomping at the bit for George Russell. No disrespect, but especially after this season, his stock has been declining this whole season, and I truthfully would see him at Aston Martin. Maybe he fits like the posh asshole brand of Aston Martin. But if he leaves Mercedes, I don't think it's wise because obviously he's playing number two to Antonelli at this point. But I would rather be number 2 at Mercedes and maybe have a shot at winning one than being number 1 at Aston Martin, where the car can barely even do half the race distance. Which, shout out Fernando Alonso, by the way. We don't need to get into spoilers, but that was crazy.
Very
That's
much.
wild. It's kind of like that one scene from Toy Story where Andy dropped Woody and said, "I don't want to play with you anymore." Kind of feels like that's Russell's sentiment in the team.
Yeah,
right
literally.
now. Practice was interesting. Ferrari locked out 1-2 interchangeably throughout FP1, FP2. We had Lando's car turn off after the tunnel. We had Behrman crash. We had Hadjar crash. So the mechanics of Haas and Red Bull having a lot to do over the practice sessions. And FP3 showed Mercedes had pace. Antonelli posting the best time of the weekend at 1:12.720. That was then topped only in qualifying and then after through the race pace. So practice was kind of deceiving, where we thought Ferrari was really on it. They were having brake issues, a tiny bit of rotation, but I was convinced, as I said last episode, I thought Lewis Hamilton would get pole and win the race, and unfortunately I'm wrong.
It hurts. I thought I predicted a Lewis win too, so I'm with you.
Yeah, I think it would have been cool to see him come through at the top, especially his first win in red, and like kind of seeing that revival. I definitely think there is incoming. I think it's incoming that there is going to be at least one win for Lewis this season in red, and then we'll kind of just see where it goes from there. But
I agree 100%, because I didn't think it was coming after last year. I thought it was done, but I've got faith now. He's looking like a new man with a new girlfriend. So
yeah, Kim made him into a new man, I guess.
Should have got a penalty for ignoring red flags, as I said a few episodes ago.
That's good. That's good. I like that. But yeah, Lewis is a new man. He seems to be really adapting well to these regulations, debatably even better than Charles. And I 100% think he's going to get one this year.
Yeah, I definitely think you are right on that track, saying that he is adapting better than Charles. It's disappointing to see, too, because, I mean, the fact that Antonelli is doing so much better than Charles, and he has been in for, like, he's on track to win his first world championship
in his second year.
In his second year, and Charles has been in for 9 years and hasn't even really gotten close. I think he got second once in the driver's standings.
He was nipping at it toward the start of, I think, the 2022 season, and then that one crash in the French Grand Prix kind of sealed the deal on Max taking that away.
Yep.
So, yeah, ridiculous.
I do think it plays into Antonelli's favor, though. Not to cut you off, sorry, but I do think youth is an advantage with these regulations, because Kimi Antonelli only had 1 year in the ground effect cars, and so he was not nearly as acquainted and was much more like easily adapting to the new car than somebody like Charles, who's been driving them since 2022 and become very like well versed, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's still molding, and
exactly.
So he hadn't adapted to those regulations yet. So the switch up wasn't as dramatic for him. It didn't really affect him in any way. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Want to jump into qualifying. Haas was definitely biggest disappointment out in Q1. Bortoleto crashed where Kimi did last year, same spot, and they had a Q1 exit. Q3 was the most interesting session. The grid started with Kimi at the top with a 1:12 time, and then Max very, very close.
4,300s.
Yeah.
Behind.
Very, very close.
Super close. Lewis, I thought that lap was good enough for first, and he was just 2/10 down, so he was in P3. So Charles Leclerc had a crash, notably. He did 2 push straight, which at Monaco is very rare, especially on the soft tires that aren't maybe in the greatest condition. He would have been on for a pole, I believe, until he slightly clipped the wall. and didn't show us anything. So we didn't even know that he abandoned the run or even had the damage. Isaac Hydjar, impressive, right behind him if that lap didn't go in. Russell, about almost 4/10 off. So Piastri had a decent lap. Norris abandoned his lap in the middle toward the swimming pool. Also, something that F1 TV doesn't show. I think their coverage of qualifying this year is pretty poor. We've had moments where we criticize exactly what they're showing on TV. And I feel like the most pivotal moments just have kind of been just forgotten about or totally looked over. And we had Gasly and Lawson right behind. I think McLaren's balance was pretty terrible. They just didn't hook it up correctly in their tire prep. I think Red Bull, though, even though they had rotation problems, they still did really well just because the energy management bit was not a problem at all this weekend. And Charles' lap is really disappointing, too. So very heartbroken for this guy to my left.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a difficult situation. So, yeah.
Race time.
I honestly think no. Wait, let's come back. Let's come back
Okay.
because you've got the Q3 splits here. I want to talk about Q1, Q2, and Q3 for George Russell because that is one of the biggest gaps from teammate to teammate in a top team that I can remember. Q1, I'll have to pull it up, but George was consistently a half second behind Kimi Antonelli, which is unheard of, especially for the experienced teammate. Mm-hmm. I just can't believe how this was just for me mentally, this was just a huge difference. So let me zoom it because I actually am editing a video with these times in it right now. So Q1, Kimi Antonelli put a 13.5. Okay. George did a 14.2. Yeah.
Oh.
Q2, Kimi does a 12.7, and George does a 13.2. So 7/10, 5/10, and then eventually in Q3, George gets it down to just under 4/10.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Which
it's embarrassing.
I just wanted to mention that because that was unbelievable to see.
Yeah, we appreciate that. That's unbelievable from him. But Mercedes, I think, in the last decade have not been anywhere on top of Monaco. They've really been absent from the last few races. I think a little bit before the ground effect era, they did better, as we mentioned earlier. It's wild to see Mercedes on top of these regulations, but Russell totally tanking it.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of ironic, too, the way that Russell came into the season, he was so confident. The way I was feeling that confidence was he was on track to win a world championship this year and take the trophy. But
Kimi was a non-issue.
Yeah.
It was is Ferrari going to beat Mercedes, not is George going to struggle with Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah, it was Kimi was barely in the conversation. He was more just he's the new guy, he's adjusting. There was no talk of him being the contending driver, the number one seat for Mercedes. It was George was the experienced one, and Kimi was the backup driver. And it's been a completely different story all season. I mean, George has that one win under his belt earlier this season, but aside from that, he has nothing to show this season. He's always been behind Kimi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean Monaco's no exception. George starts P6, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Kimi starts next to Max Verstappen. The next Max Verstappen starting next to the Max Verstappen. The next Max Verstappen starting next to Max Verstappen. There we go.
Yeah.
But he was not next to Max Verstappen for long. Let's hear about this Max start situation.
Wonderful start from Antonelli, given his problems with pulling the clutch, dropping the clutch at the right moment, getting the revs correctly. Yeah, off the line, Max's engine failed. He said that he didn't have power, and then he noticed some weird sound. So he said if I would have hit it anymore, it would have grenaded itself. So, yeah, bring it home, Max, is something we don't want to hear at the start of a race, but it's something that we're very familiar with at the end of a race.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, that was a huge surprise. I'm surprised he didn't get hit, honestly.
That would have been insane.
Shout out to Charles for having to swing around because he was the first car back.
Yeah.
And Max also did a good job veering to the left.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Charles had to really avoid. So props to him.
Yeah, it was good situational awareness from him being able to react that quick. I mean, obviously we kind of expect that from an F1 driver, but at the same time, it's nonetheless impressive.
The pre-pit stint, we saw Russell, to mention him again, just fighting Hadjar for, I think it was a net P4 or 5 on the road, which is kind of embarrassing when his teammate was out there controlling the pace. Hadjar was having some really bad power issues early on, as well as a tire graining that F1 TV did show, and it was pretty severe. It was bad. But I think the original pit sequence for stop 1, I think they got rid of the 2-stop requirement rule, which is kind of
Yeah, they
boring.
did.
I think that made the race more interesting. There was no shakeup between Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. I think everybody was just kind of on it for once, which is good to hear. And Lando had a battery failure toward like the middle of the race, and Behrman had a similar issue, had to box and retired the car. On lap 25, though, there was a reel actually that Sergio Perez reposted. This guy has 3 reposts. Go on Instagram, have a look. He reposted this because on lap 25 of 78, he told the Cadillac pit wall that the final corner track was breaking up. And he could have prevented the Stroll and Leclerc crash when it happened on lap 61. He said, I told you guys to tell the FIA. I think an earlier stoppage, potentially after the pit stop sequence, would have changed the race instrumentally and maybe made it more interesting and potentially maybe gave Lewis more of a chance. But, you know, things happen, right?
I did see that, and I only saw it today that he called that out so early on. I didn't know he reposted it though. That's so funny.
Yeah,
he has
it was
3
one of 3.
reposts, and like two of them are sponsor things, and the third is
That's
that
awesome.
funny reel. So props to Perez.
And it's like, I mean,
And,
again,
you know,
shows the failure.
We'll
of
come
the
back to
FIA.
Perez.
Yeah, we need to talk about him. We need to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
So Lance's crash on 61 was kind of sad, and he in the media was talking about an engine braking problem that some laps was reflecting differently for corners before or after. That wasn't his fault, and I saw the way he crashed. It didn't make sense. It was the tire hitting the break-up track, so that did trigger a red flag, which I think completely changed.
Well, that did not.
Oh, was it Charles?
You're
Charles?
incorrect. That did not trigger a red flag because then they had a safety car. And then we restarted the race again, and Big Chuck ended up in the wall, and that was the red flag. Because then they actually realized something was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could.
Because when Lance Stroll
earlier.
crashes, that happens.
Yeah.
You know, that's nothing out of the ordinary. But when Big Chuck loses it at Nogues, that's weird.
Yeah.
Then they have to check it out, and then they realized, which is kind of crazy that it did take 2 drivers crashing for them to notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus Sergio calling it out like 40 laps ago.
Yeah, it's
But-
insane.
I don't know why
Yeah,
there wasn't
it's a shame
safety
that Charles
car
had
for
to be the
that.
one.
Why, like, was that? That's what I'm curious about. Was that a failure on Cadillac's pit wall, telling the
No,
FIA,
the FIA
or
just
was
thought
it
it was
the FIA?
The FIA just thought it was all hunky dory when part of the track was braking.
So
Yeah, I think they just didn't consider it like a big enough issue. And like Stroll crashed there, they probably didn't realize that it was the track, or just didn't like think it was that big of a deal. Because again, it's Lance Stroll. Like Lance Stroll crashes at Monaco like every year.
Yeah.
So, but no, it is still 100% their fault for not, you know, realizing sooner that that was actually an issue.
yeah, I mean, like my question though is like, why is that not causing something like a race review, or something like? Because, I mean that like Jacob said, that is something that could have instrumentally changed the race. If they removed that piece of debris from the track, it could have. I mean, who knows? Charles could have won.
There wouldn't have been a free pit stop with the red flag, or it would have occurred at a different time, but they wouldn't have pitted a second time right after the first pit sequence. So that's another fault on their part. I think also time penalties were a big thing. We saw like 6 of the top 10 get hit with these penalties because of cutting the pit entry line. And even though they're taking a shorter distance, the actual scrutiny, if you were watching some of the onboards and with race data, it was 0.01 kilometers an hour. That's stupid. That's minuscule. That's not going to cause.
Well, that I have no empathy for, but like if you're 0.1 over, then you're 0.1 over. But if you're not speeding and you just cut the entry line a little bit, that's not your fault. If like you're allowed to do that, like, 'cause I don't think drivers weren't getting penalized for cutting the pit entry line. They were getting penalized for speeding, which they weren't doing. And I think that's dumb.
Because they were taking a
I think if
shorter
you were,
distance into the
if they
pit.
actually were speeding by 0.1, you can't do that. I don't care if you're speeding by 100 or if you're speeding by 0.1. If you're speeding, you're speeding. But none of these people were speeding, it seems like.
Yeah.
Are you the guy on the freeway that actually just sits at 65, like on cruise control?
Hell no.
We all move around you? Is that you?
Hell no. I am kind of a pussy about cops, though. I won't lie. Like I'm not a crazy speeder by any means.
Yeah.
That's funny, dude. But yeah, so a lot of penalties, and there was a problem with Russell serving his. During this pit stop where Antonelli got in, you can't serve the penalty not in the box. And Juan Pablo Montoya was saying that some racing series, there is a specific box where penalties have to be served. That's not the case in F1, but Russell sitting behind Antonelli doesn't count because he's not in a serviceable position. So we saw a huge penalty slapped to him. We saw Hamilton get a 5-second before that. And Pierre Gasly, most controversially, didn't serve his penalty correctly. Was he given a 10-second or a drive-through? Because I know that did
He had a
ruin
10-second.
10-second. Did Russell got a drive-through?
Yes.
That was insane before or after the restart. But on the restart, Hülkenberg absolutely nuked Carlos Sainz. Sainz has actually scored at Monaco for every team. Toro Rosso, McLaren, Scuderia Ferrari, Williams last year. His streak came to an end because Hülkenberg decided just to smash right into him.
Yeah.
So did Colapinto the next corner.
Oh, yeah, double.
I don't know if y'all saw that.
Double hit. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, he got hit out of the hairpin and then hit at Portier by Colapinto.
Yeah.
But I also just realized that this was, like, I remembered, Gasly did not serve his penalty incorrectly. He just got a second speeding penalty. So it was 2 5-second penalties stacked on top of each other to make 10.
Yeah, this race feels like it was just kind of full of penalties. Like they were just kicking a dead horse at that point.
A little bit harsh.
It was, I mean, I said it in my video. I low-key think it should stick around because it made Monaco actually entertaining without really, like, I don't know. I'm not, like, actually hoping that this happens again, but it was, like, I wouldn't mind if the stewards went crazy every year at Monaco.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right. It did make it interesting and that it did make it a little bit more lively, for sure, than our typical no-pass finish race. Where it's just
start to finish.
Well, there was still no passing. We just got crashes and penalties instead of passing.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was entertaining. If you guys saw Lewis Hamilton's Instagram story, it was funny because he posted a pic of him at 2 different points with a young Kimi and a young Hadjar. Hadjar
I saw
and
that.
Antonelli, if you add their ages up, still don't equal Hamilton, 41, which I think is pretty entertaining. So
that is wild.
That was a cute podium. That was a good podium this year with Antonelli and Hamilton.
I think that was my favorite podium, controversially.
Of this year
Like,
or last
of the year.
Of this one?
Of the year. Well, I mean, I'm a McLaren fan, so obviously it's not my favorite for the last few years, but
Sure.
I liked the Hamilton Antonelli Hadjar as opposed to Hamilton Antonelli Verstappen, just because it's literally Lewis and his 2 children.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, that's so cool. Because Hadjar's such a little Hamilton glazer too.
Yeah, he is. He absolutely is.
He is. He managed that end of the race so well with having the
He
power
did.
problems after the restart. And we knew after the restart that with reliability this season, it would be a problem for potentially any and or all of the cars. So seeing little Hadjar do so well, that's his first podium for Red Bull. It's his second overall. It's Red Bull's second podium of this year achieved by him. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, same here, definitely. I've really enjoyed seeing the new young guys coming in.
So after this race, Antonelli through Monaco, through the whole European leg of last year, he scored 4 points, right? That's an insane deficit. Graham, what do you think's changed really this year, and how can he get through the most painful part of his career thus far?
First of all, I want to say that freaking titanium dioxide crap, it's finally done. I was so sick of that. Did y'all hear about that? Do y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, dude, I saw a reel about that.
It's finally done, because I think Monaco bans that stuff or whatever, so it breaks or whatever the opposite. I don't know. Now the curse is broken.
Boring.
But
Yeah.
but I think he's not gonna stop. He's not gonna have another slump in the European leg. These are tracks he's raced at before. He's in a car that he's clearly loving right now. I don't see any reason why he falls behind kind of Piastri in the Americas-esque this year. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, that was the most painful for both of us thing we've ever seen. That hurt. I remember Baku especially cemented the kind of the end of Piastri's kind of reign of last season. And
Well, a bit of an exclusive lore drop. I am a closeted Lando Norris fan. So
oh, me too. Me too.
I
dude.
was more
my
than
God.
happy for Lando to win the championship. But
That's totally
yeah,
fair.
it still sucked to see Piastri go out and fizzle out like that. And I don't think Antonelli is going to make the same mistakes, to be quite honest.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. And I don't think, because Piastri definitely was the favorite to win. I personally, not being a Lando fan, because I think Lando's a little bit of a...
Interesting fella.
Say it with your chest. Call him a bitch.
Yes, he is a child that does not know how to act and be an adult, and he's a whiny little baby. So I don't like Lando, but that's besides the point.
How many F1 World Championships do you have again?
Okay, all right. But I think that it was definitely something, like you said, Graham, that I think that Antonelli isn't going to make the same mistakes that Piastri did, and that he is definitely going to hold on to his direction at being the champ this year. I think he's going to definitely take it home.
100%. And on the opposite end of that, I do not think we will see a comeback from George Russell. Of course, I think he's going to win a couple races, but he's already more points back than anyone has ever come back from. I truly think the championship is already over, if I'm being completely honest. I think Kimi Antonelli has already won the drivers, and nobody is going to even come close. George might keep it within 70 points, because he's down 68 right now, which is a shame, because he's right between 67 and 69. But I don't think he's going to... He might cut the deficit, but he's not going to make it entertaining whatsoever. Because it's just the fact that he's down 4 wins is enough already. But the fact that he's down 4 wins and has basically 2 DNFs, if you count Monaco, which I would, because, it's no points. It's basically the same shit. It's done, dude. He's already this far back. I don't see it happening. It'd be awesome, because I don't want George to win, but I always am going to root for the underdog. Except, I don't know. I do love Antonelli a lot, but I don't see George at all making this a fight anymore.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, before I get into the engine development controversy, is there anything else that stood out from you about Monaco that we haven't talked about yet?
I was hoping that there would be a little more overtaking ability with the cars being a little smaller and narrower. Clearly wasn't really the case, especially because I watched 2016 Monaco the week leading up, which in my opinion is the last Monaco race where overtaking was truly possible, because those cars were small enough. and it was just so great. And it left me even more disappointed than I would have been with Monaco. But I do think a track layout change could be considered. Obviously, they can't widen the roads, but they could figure something out. They've got F1. They've got an F1 race in Vegas. They could figure it out. So
yeah,
it's always gonna leave a sour taste in my mouth. Monaco is, just because it's a shell of what it once was. But I will say, Monaco is probably the coolest F1 race to attend in person.
Have you been?
I have been in 2024. I did not get to watch the Grand Prix, but that I watched one practice session, and I've been to other races, but it is unbelievable. It's so cool, just because it's you just can't, there's other street tracks, but Monaco is so narrow and just woven into the city, unlike any other street track. Because you got Baku that looks like a Lego minifigure when you draw it out. You got Vegas that looks like a pig. It's all like a bunch of 90-degree turns, but Monaco is so unique and so different, and is still so cool in person.
Yeah, I think I personally, I've never actually been to an F1 race. I've been to Long Beach, so I've seen a F1 track before, and I've also seen the Phoenix track in Arizona as well, when Red Bull came out a couple months ago and did an event out here.
Sick, yeah.
With the... I think it was the 2008
car
that they used.
Wait, was Phoenix the one where Scott Speed crashed?
I don't.
Are you talking about?
No, I don't.
That might have
so.
been in San Francisco. I don't know, but I know at one of the Red Bull pop-ups, one of the cars got crashed.
Oh no, not here.
Yeah.
I wish. That'd be entertaining. I love Scott Speed, but it really shows kind of like his old F1 career coming back.
Yeah, pretty good summary.
There was who who was it? Somebody was driving the new Mustang GTD at that event, and they tried to do a burnout 360 in front of the fence, and they almost crashed into the wall, and they had to back it up, and I was like, that was so awkward.
That car is so sick,
reference?
just by the way.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm a Chevy guy though, so I'm a Corvette, Team Corvette.
It's fair. What's your favorite generation?
C7, easy.
Ooh, okay.
I think C8 for the platform and overall reliability. I think
reliability, no. Their transmissions are horrible. They've been having absolutely horrible transmissions. I have quite a few friends that have C8s, and I've brought them into the dealership and had to pull the entire transmission and replace it because of how bad the issues have been. 2026 though, they updated the transmission, so they are supposedly not supposed to have any more issues with the transmission. But anyways, that's a rabbit trail. Let's get back to F1.
C3 is the best, by the way. Just had to close it on that.
Okay.
I
respect you.
I can respect that. That's a good one.
So exiting the weekend, there was a controversial story about the additional development and upgrade opportunities, ADUO. It's a benchmark that tests all of the manufacturers and basically dictates whether this year can have an update, and as well as 2027. And the FIA said that Red Bull Ford powertrains had the best internal combustion engine, even though it's lost power, it didn't even start the Monaco Grand Prix, it's caused Max Verstappen's DNF multiple times, and basically said that Mercedes is 2 or 4% adrift of Red Bull, meaning they can initiate one engine upgrade in 26 and 2027. And then Ferrari, interestingly, I think their engine's pretty good. Audi and Honda have all been deemed lacking 4% or more in power compared to Red Bull, meaning those three PU suppliers can have 2 upgrades this year and 2 in 2027. Do you think this is a wrong call? Do you think this could meaningfully change the Constructors' Championship? Graham, what are your thoughts?
I don't think it's as big of a deal as everybody's making it be, because not only is the cars are so dependent on battery power anyways, and the boost mode, and wheel to wheel, I don't think a duo is going to matter that much, just because you use so much battery anyways. But also, I think it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, like you just said yourself, you're surprised that Ferrari's 4% off or more or whatever. But at the end of the day, right now, reliability matters more than performance because so many cars are going out of the race, DNFing, stuff's going wrong, Hadjar has no power, this, and that. I don't think a duo is going to play a huge factor in 2026. It might start being more important in 2027, especially if they cut the battery power like everybody's asking them to do.
60-40.
Yeah, something like
that's
that.
supposed to be next year.
Yeah, I think it might play a little bit more of a role, but I don't think we need to get our panties in a wad over the 2026 A duo. Like, yeah, Red Bull might have the best engine, but if it shits itself every 5 laps, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, absolutely.
Feel free to disagree,
I think
by the
also,
way.
too- No, actually, I think we're on the money with you, dude. We get these batteries are actually causing potential harm to the internal computer systems, maybe to the actual like parts themselves, due to synchronization problems, issues on the actual dyno, issues on the sim. So the total asymmetry of, I guess, the entire machinery is causing a huge problem. And no, I agree with you that maybe it's not going to have as big of an impact. One thing I think is interesting with the internal combustion engine relative to this specific year, I think the fueling has been really interesting about the biofuels, and we've not seen a lot of issues with running out of fuel. As we know, IndyCar runs a fully sustainable fuel program already on 100% ethanol, and F1's doing a little bit different, but I think that's interesting that this year it's been benchmarked very well and potentially is maybe the best change of this entire season.
I agree.
definitely.
That's a layup. They should have done that years ago.
No, I totally agree, and it was possible. IndyCar's been running it for, 4 or 5 years, right?
Yep.
This isn't anything new.
And, I mean, I wish
Yeah,
that's all they
Graham-
would do, but the unfortunate reality is these little pansy engines are for Audi to come into F1 so they can use this technology to learn about EV hybrid engines for their road cars. It's a bunch of business suits and all that bullshit. So you got to take the good with the bad, I guess.
Yeah, Graham, I do actually want your thoughts on touching on that, because the one thing that I have been learning a little bit more about is because I've been watching F1 for a while, but I haven't really dabbled very much into F2, F3, and F4. But I was watching a video earlier that was talking about how the F2 and F3 cars, they don't use a hybrid motor. They're bigger liter sizes. And so I'm curious if you have any thoughts on the fact that the adaptation of the hybrid engine in F1, has that affected drivers coming in from F2 and F3, graduating into F1? Do you think it damages or assists them at all in their adjustment to a hybrid engine and driving a car with a smaller engine?
I would say so, for sure. I don't think it's anything new because I feel like the biggest transition that a lot of F2 drivers that become F1 drivers will talk about is battery management. And that's been a thing in F1 for a long time and hasn't been a thing in F2 for a long time. They use DRS, but that's, like, if you look at an F2 wheel, it is still so bare bones compared to an F1 wheel. And I think you could get away with that in F3, but I do think there needs to be it's like you've got 4 steps and then like a 5-story jump, whereas you could have a little bit more even distribution of these steps that you have to take to F1. I think F2 could implement more technology, but the thing is, F2 in itself is such a more low budget series, and these engines are so freaking expensive to build that, I mean, the F1 engines, obviously, it's just like they have no incentive to do it just because, like, why would they do it? Like, they don't have backing from car brands. Those are the drivers. So these teams are operating independently. They can't afford to develop these engines. So that's another reason why I don't like hybrid engines in F1. But I mean, if in a perfect world, F2 teams could have more funding and then F2 could actually start using hybrid engines, but it's just not that simple, unfortunately.
I think 2031, to go off your point, with F1 potentially going back to V8 engines, so I'm very excited about. I think that could force a change fundamentally in F2, giving more power, and maybe that would close up the grid. I think if they develop a really solid V8 program, there would be more backing from the big engine suppliers. Because at that point, we'll have Audi, we'll have Cadillac, we'll have hopefully Honda getting their shit together. And I think that'll be interesting that potentially could close the gap. But that's still quite a while away. We're talking a 5-year plan that F1's not usually too sharp at.
And there are going to be teams that push back on that because, again, all these car brands have EV boners right now. They are rock hard for the EV technology. And again, that's why they made the 2026 regs the way they did, is because they wanted Audi to join because Audi's such a huge business. Mm-hmm. So I honestly do want hybrid engines to stay. I do think that battery plays a cool role in racing, but not like this. I liked the engines that were used for the ground effect. I like the engines that were used for 2017 through 21, whatever that regs are called. 2026, the problem with all of those other eras were the aero. And in 2026, the aero seems great. And they just messed up the power units. They flip-flopped from one problem to the other. Snip, snap, snip, snap.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the adjustable aero modes of cornering, straight mode, I think have totally fixed things, and maybe like kind of throwing DRS out the window has really made a positive difference. But yeah, I hate the fact that we have to talk about power unit problems every weekend instead of other more interesting stories, and it just overall sucks. And to talk about Audi, we saw their new car, the new Volare,
the fucking Roomba
at Monaco. And it was actually the most reliable Audi of the weekend.
That is true. That is very true.
I mean, Hülkenberg did crash. He didn't have a failure, but it was more reliable than Bortoletto's entire little campaign here at Monaco. So that was interesting. We're heading toward Barcelona again. There are 2 Spanish tracks this year. We have the Madrid Ring that it's going to happen in early September, and we have Barcelona again. What do you think's most interesting heading into this weekend?
I think the most interesting thing is 100% going to be how much is this Mercedes engine, quote-unquote, nerf going to actually affect things? Because obviously at Monaco, you're hardly ever even at full power. We don't really know how that affected things at all. So I'm very interested to see if there's a drop in Mercedes pace at an actual racetrack.
Mm-hmm. I think Cadillac potentially could have a great weekend coming off Perez losing a point, unfortunately, due to a grid box infringement on the restart. I think they could have a great weekend. Valtteri had a battery problem, but they've been looking really stellar, and I think that with the nerf happening, potentially affecting Red Bull a little bit too, this could be a big moment if there are a lot of retirements like we saw this weekend. I think Cadillac could really pick up the pieces, and we were really adamant last episode in glazing them a little bit because we're American. We're happy to see the Americans doing well on the grid. We're happy to see their technical platform working, and I hope there's more opportunities this weekend to kind of seize on. McLaren also needs a recovery. They've had a few just embarrassing weekends with that Mercedes power unit, and especially on the electrical side, as well as the transmission for Lando. I think Piastri had a pretty clean weekend. He was in P4, all things considered, at the end of the Monaco Grand Prix. So I hope to see McLaren up there. I think Spain's a track that they potentially have run good in the past. I think that we could have better rotation, we could have better preparation, and I'm looking forward to potentially my boys in orange, having a good weekend since the Miami Grand Prix.
We are due for one, I will say.
I agree.
We are so due, dude. We need to be back. It's hurting me to watch every weekend, but I still make it through.
Yeah, it's interesting because being a Ferrari fan, just seeing over the years, we've just kind of had this second place, up and down, like where we've just been mediocre. And it's kind of like, I don't know, Graham, if you watch soccer at all, but it's kind of, we're kind of like the Arsenal or the the Manchester United of F1, where they're just kind of always like that, just average, and they're never at the top, never really at the bottom, just kind of always like that dull 4th, 5th place. And so it's like I'm interested to see if Ferrari and McLaren are going to come back this season. We've seen a rise from Ferrari. Hopefully they don't bottle it, but I think definitely with the new WEC engineers that they have on the team, I think that's definitely helping them, but I don't think it's going to be their saving grace. What do you think about that?
First of all, fuck Arsenal. I'm a Chelsea fan.
I hate them too, so we're on the same
I was
boat
so
there.
glad when they lost the Champions League final. Oh my God.
Me too, dude. I never wanted the French to win it, but at the same time, I was like, I'm not gonna be mad if they win it this time because at least Arsenal won.
That was literally the one time you'll ever catch me rooting for PSG.
Exactly, literally, dude. I think that was the whole world.
Yeah, literally. It was God, it was like Hitler versus Stalin. That's the one time you'll ever get me cheering for Stalin.
Yes, exactly. There you go. That's the great comparison right there.
But
Oh my God.
what was the
dude.
question? Ferrari being second or something?
Yeah, like, do you think that like the WEC engineers coming to Ferrari is that going to be their saving grace or not really? My opinion kind of is that they're not really the rescue for them that they're looking for, but I think that they are definitely a booster for them for sure.
Yeah, I mean it can't hurt. They've been doing great in WEC. Hopefully they don't freaking win Le Mans again. I'm gonna be pissed if they do. They've been bopping everybody, and if they don't bop Ferrari at Le Mans, I'm gonna be mad. But no, I think it'll help for sure. Like it literally can't hurt because their F1 engineers are freaking idiots. But no, it'll help, and I do think Ferrari. I always, because my old co-host of the Backmarkers podcast, Zane Sewell. I don't know if y'all are super familiar with him. It's fine if you're not. He is also Italian, lives in London, big Ferrari fan, and I always gave him so much shit because Ferrari has a sailing team. Cut the funding for that immediately. Let's get back to the F1. Yeah, must get out of the water. Get out of the water. We don't need any more water.
Bro. That's the water.
So I used to always give him shit for the sailing team.
We had enough with the water.
Is there a leakage?
Yeah, imagine having those guys on a sailboat.
Oh Lord, dude. Is there a leakage? Must be the water that's right underneath us.
Yeah, hopefully it'd be like Jaws or something. I don't know.
That would be so funny. Stay out, stay out, stay out.
Oh Lord.
But yeah,
Le Mans this coming weekend.
it is.
Right?
I'm very,
I wish
very,
it was
very
on
excited.
YouTube. Do you subscribe to what's it called?
It's what, WEC TV or
WEC stream.
WEC T. Yeah, WEC T. Do you subscribe
I do
to that?
not, but I believe WEC is also shown on HBO. I don't know. I usually just pirate it.
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Hey, same, bro.
Yeah, fair enough, bro.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. That's the type of sailing I'm doing. Ferrari, you're doing the wrong kind of sailing. But
Logan Sargent.
Logan Sargent, Dorian
I'm
Pinn,
excited to see.
like we've got some goats at Le Mans this
Mick?
year.
Good old Mick.
Oh, I did see a reel about that today about how many former F1 drivers we have in WEC right now.
There is quite a bit.
There is quite a few of them. I believe there was at least 10.
Yeah, I saw everybody in the comments was like
if
F1
not
is a WEC feeder series.
Yes, it is.
I think
absolutely
it can be
is.
if you don't succeed because the pool's so limited, and then you jump into the factory teams. There's so many manufacturers, so there's a lot of opportunities in WEC, and it's a good series.
And the thing is, too, that a lot of the drivers that fall out of F1, they're not untalented.
Not at all.
It's not like they are bad drivers. I mean, Lance Stroll is the exception here, but I think that a lot of the drivers that leave F1 because they're not performing well enough, it's not because they're a bad driver, it's just there's something that's not connecting. And usually when they go into WEC or another race class, they find that connecting part. I mean, we've seen performances, multiple like that, with these feeders from F1 into WEC. We've seen champions from people who were normally at the back of the field in F1, and they're now winning series in WEC.
Yeah, I mean, you got Giovinazzi.
Is even easier.
Giovinazzi is balling in WEC. Antonio Fuoco didn't even make it to F1. He was an F2 graduate. He's balling. No,
He's a dog. He's a
De Vries
dog,
is holding his own at Toyota. You know, he's not the best, not the worst. Buemi is doing great. Like
Kamui?
oh yeah, for sure. And then Kubica is he's a demon. I love Giga Kubica.
Yeah.
I love Robert.
He's
dude.
such a legend, dude.
Robert's such a goat.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, especially I'm excited to see Sargent because I mean he was definitely like a favorite, especially for American fans in Formula One. I think it was really neat seeing him in Formula One, and I'm
Painful
hoping,
seeing him in Formula One. How about that?
Yeah, but it was
Sad,
like
painful for us emotionally.
It was a good thing though to see an American driver for the first time in a long time.
Love it like that.
And so being able to see him, like he didn't really have his time in F1, and I'm hopeful for his time in WEC.
I want to see him in IndyCar.
I hope that he is able
because
to show
WEC,
up.
I love WEC so much, but it's a very low pressure environment, and it's where, like, you get a lot of like if you're a young ex F1 driver in WEC, something went wrong. Nick De Vries, Logan Sargent, you know, like, no offense, but I think it's a great place for older ex F1 drivers, but it's almost like half retiring the way I see it. And that is no disrespect to WEC, but that's just how endurance is. And that's why I really wanted to see Logan in IndyCar. So
I think there's still space open. I love IndyCar as an American fan. It's Kyle Collette went to, I think he went to F2 to
great racing gateway, by the way.
Colton Herta. Yeah. Colton Herta jumped reverse. He went to F2. Felix Rosenquist, I think, was a graduate of F2 as well. Mick Schumacher did really well at the Indy 500. Robert Schwartzman got pole last year. He's not on the grid this year in IndyCar. Yeah, he got pole last year. I do remember that. So IndyCar is, I think, a lot sharper and more interesting to get accustomed to. I think ovals are a little bit of a unique challenge for the European.
Exactly.
but that's okay. That's never a problem, right? These guys know how to learn. I think the team's more interesting too, with Honda and Chevrolet being the only manufacturers, because it's not a manufacturer sport. It's more of a team sport, focusing on like fuel load, aero, tire prep. It would be nice to see more of these ex-F1 drivers in IndyCar, where the stakes are higher to get money, the stakes are higher to keep your career going, but also maybe to go somewhere else. Yeah. I also wish maybe someone like Dorian Pan would start, as you mentioned, would start IndyCar, because I like Catherine Legg. I think she's good sometimes, but she's not representing, I think, women well in motorsport. And maybe someone like Doran could jump in and potentially do a lot.
Yeah, let's get Natalie Decker in an IndyCar. What do y'all think about that? No, I would love to see Pulling or Pan or shit.
What about Lindsay Marie Brewer? Have you watched her in Lamborghini and like GT?
I have not. I'm not super tapped in with GT World Challenge at the moment, or IGTC. I don't know which one she's in, or if she's in a regional. I don't know, but no, I'm not super familiar. But hell yeah.
Though I am curious, what are your thoughts, Graham, on the F1 Academy? I mean, so far, I think obviously it's been a little bit of a disaster, but I am curious, do you think like within like the next decade we're going to see female drivers on the grid?
In F1, maybe. I truthfully probably don't think so, but it's going in the right direction, and I think what F1 Academy does a great job of is just giving these girls a platform to springboard into better feeders. Because F1 Academy itself, like obviously it's a glorified F4, and that's okay because it's very difficult for young women to like find sponsors and get into these series. So I think that's what F1 Academy does a fantastic job of, and it also allows the champions to really have higher stock. I mean, Abby Pulling just won at GB3, first woman to ever win in GB3, won at Spa. It was sick. Now we've got Dorian Pan at is it Oreca or Inter Europol, or it's Oreca?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oreca,
in LMP2 at Le Mans, like that's so sick. I can't remember for the life of me.
And you had Marta Garcia.
That's
too.
her name. Marta Garcia, the first champion.
Going into Iron Dames, that was along Sarah Bovey and Michelle Frein?
I think you're right.
I think
Leah
so.
Block, too. That's another notable one, Leah Block.
Yeah, these graduates, we're very happy to see Abby pull her weight. I think some people, though, get a platform that really are undeserving. I used to be a Monte Glazer when she was back with McLaren. Do you relate? I hope you do.
I'm not.
Because she's a dud. She's a dud in GP3.
She's doing pretty bad, and she doesn't seem like the nicest person ever. But yeah, I think what Max said a couple years ago, I think tells half the story. He said these women need to be in better feeder series. They don't need to waste their time with F1 Academy. They need to be in F3 and F2. But the other half of that story is F1 Academy is giving these teams in these bigger series a reason to take on these young girls, and like it attracts sponsors, it attracts attention from other series, and that in itself is good.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that.
And I mean, I think that it's kind of interesting too, just kind of seeing like that. It feels a little bit ironic that it seems like F1 is becoming a little more dramatic than F1 Academy is, with the back seasons of going to the Drive to Survive stuff. How F1 seems like, from what I've been seeing at least, it seems like F1 is more of a drama TV show than actual racing now. And that we're seeing a lot more action in series like WEC, IndyCar, GT3, stuff like that. That it seems like we're seeing way more action there. And Max was pretty vocal about that a couple of weeks ago.
I mean, I agree to an extent. I do think people are glossing over the quality of races we've gotten this season a little bit. But NASCAR's been doing great this year. I feel like they're kind of finally starting to crawl back from the huge crash they had in the early 2010s. I feel like IndyCar's kind of clawing their way into the mainstream as well. WEC's doing a great job. I mean, obviously Le Mans and all that. Max is shining a bunch of lights on GT3, NLS, IGTC, what have you. And I think it's great. But I do think people, it's quote-unquote artificial racing, but I think F1, especially compared to the ground effect era, has taken a pretty good step in the right direction for wheel-to-wheel racing.
Definitely. I can definitely side with that. I'm curious, do you think, especially with technology improving so much, like, do you think while we're seeing these rises in these other classes of racing alongside F1, do you think we're going to see anything poke out with like e-racing, with like Max and Charles doing iRacing stuff? Do you think we're gonna see a poke out of e-racing and like doing stuff like that professionally, and having that be like something that people are actually watching on TV?
Well, do you mind if I cut it real fast?
Yeah.
Remember
go for it.
in Martinborough? We watched a movie about Gran Turismo. We saw the legitimization of sim racing.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
That just came to mind.
I think like the Gran Turismo movie I mean, those are kind of apples to oranges. Like obviously the sim racing to real racing pipeline is very much alive, as we Jan kind of pioneered it, but You got William Byron, computer boy in NASCAR, and then Jimmy Broadbent. I don't know if y'all are familiar with him on YouTube. He's like a big sim racing YouTuber. Y'all should check him. He's freaking hilarious if you haven't. Jimmy Broadbent is his name, but he is now racing like NLS. I don't know if he's full-time NLS, but he did the Nürburgring 24 in a GT4 last year, and he now did the 24 in a GT3. I actually think he did it was like, dude, the classes are so confusing for 24 hours of Nürburgring, but it was like a GT3 Cup class or something. I think it was Cup class, which is still a GT3 car. But yeah, he's
Valencia.
like, just all of these guys are proving that is possible. But to answer your original question, I think, people were asking the same questions about esports, and sure, esports have grown. Like, do I watch competitive Overwatch? No, I'm not gonna. Anyways, I think it can grow for sure.
Where you were going with
But I don't think it'll ever, break through the ceiling of the fact that it's a video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It definitely. I see what you mean by that. I know that the GT Academy is still around, and that they are, like you were saying, that the feeder system from sim racing to real racing is very much alive. Do you think that is something that's going to get even like that it's going to get boosted? Now that in the past couple of years we've seen that rise, especially with with Jan and these other drivers coming in from sim racing, do you think we're going to see a rise in that, or do you think it's kind of like it's hit its mark and it's just kind of be a steady stream?
I think it depends on how good the sim racers get, which is a direct correlation, I think, of how accurate the sims get. So iRacing is obviously like it prides itself on being like super accurate and stuff. It's obviously not perfect, and like people have come from, Jan is like respectfully, he's a forgettable GT3 driver. He's serviceable for sure, but is he a legend if he wasn't from sim racing? Probably not.
No.
So I definitely think there's potential for like great drivers, and depending on the series. Do I ever think we'll get an F1 driver who started sim racing at 12 years old? And no, I don't. But it definitely has the opportunity, with sims getting better, for the drivers to also get better and have teams have to take more, of a look at these guys.
Yeah. Do you think we'll ever see people coming in from, obviously we know F1 drivers and all other class drivers, when they're off the grid, they are practicing on simulators. Do you think we'll ever see people practicing on those level of simulators that are able to do stuff like that? Or do you think they'll kind of stay at that at home in your living room kind of?
That's a good question. That's actually a really good question. I think a lot of that stuff is I don't think that'll ever be made available to the public, because that's like super highly sensitive stuff for teams. Like, they would not let anything about their sims get leaked. Like, at least the real ones, you know what I mean? Like the ones they actually use to test the car. That's going to be like, it's like how the rumor that like civilian technology is 20 years behind the military. Like, those sims, for all we know, could be like perfectly realistic. We have no idea, but I don't think it's ever going to get to a point where the public has access to that stuff, so I don't think it really matters.
I think accessibility of racing in general is getting a lot better, and I think that you shouldn't need to be raised in a rich family and racing from go-karts in your diapers to even be able to potentially have a shot at F1. I think racing needs to become more accessible, and this whole push of sim racing at home, sim racing professionally through Jan Mardenborough is a great step toward making sure that young people who want to get into racing somehow can get their fair shot. And I think that's great to see. I think that needs to continue, because racing should not just be this prestigious circle. With how many people now have access to watching on YouTube, your rallies, your single-seaters, your prototype, your factory cars, everybody can have a shot. And I think that's such a great thing that I guess the internet has kind of created, but also that maybe the greater racing world.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. Do kind of want to wrap up here. Want to talk a little bit about your outlook, Graham, on this next weekend and what you're thinking. What are your predictions for this next weekend?
I'm going back-to-back Lewis Hamilton win predictions. I won't lie. I predicted it for Monaco. It didn't happen. I'm predicting it for Spain. It's kind of a hopium prediction, but I want that Mercedes engine nerf to actually show itself.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I am thinking Lewis win. My prediction is a 1-2
that was my Monaco
for
prediction.
Ferrari. I am definitely on hopium, but I'm a 1-2 for Ferrari and a third place Antonelli.
That was my exact Monaco podium prediction.
I think that Ferrari hasn't got the brake program correct, and I think from Charles' side, I don't think that he'll be in top 3. Maybe give him a 4th. Give me Lewis Hamilton win. I'm going to agree with you. Give me Antonelli 2nd, and
ooh, a little McLaren podium. I like it.
That would be interesting.
Did y'all see? I have to ask. Did y'all see what Brembo said after Charles's radio? They put out a statement that was basically like, "Fuck you, dude. It's not our fault."
No, I did not see that.
No, I missed that, dude. That's funny.
Yeah,
I'll have to look it up, but there's a statement from Brembo. It's obviously PR, gassed up and very sugar coated, but it's that's a skill issue, brother.
Yeah, that's funny though. Yeah, that would be ironic, and I think that we have a lot to look forward to for the rest of this season. I mean, definitely, I'm kind of siding with you, Graham, on the fact that I think that the driver's standings probably are over for the season. I think Antonelli's going to clear it by miles, but I definitely think that.
Remember what we're talking about.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. We're talking in kilometers here, but I definitely think that we are going to see some action in the constructors, and definitely a fight for the win between Ferrari and Mercedes, and so fingers crossed. Maybe we could see some action for Ferrari, and I'm hoping maybe this is the comeback season for Ferrari. We have noted in previous episodes that this season is an adaptation season. There is very much openness for upgrades and changes, and this is an adjustment season. So I definitely think we can kind of see anything for the rest of this season, and that this season will be very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll get a little more spicy as time goes on because, 2022 was exciting for a little bit. 20 minutes, we had a Ferrari versus Red Bull title fight. But, the best seasons of ground effect, the best in my opinion was 2024. So I do think these regs will only get better because that's usually how it goes as teams start to catch up with each other. I'm excited for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Graham, we're happy to have you to cover the Monaco Grand Prix, and thank you for joining us. It's such an enjoyable experience to cover this race with you.
Of course, guys. This has been a great podcast. Y'all had some great topics, great questions. I commend you. I'm clapping. You can't see it, but you will on video. Very good job, guys. Shout out Rogue Ignition.
Thank you. Yeah, this was super fun. So we will see you guys next time. Next week, we have the Spanish Grand Prix. So we will see you guys next week once we record that episode. And then we do have a secret guest that we will be having in about 2 weeks during our off-race weekend. And that will be a very interesting, diving in a little bit more to the business side of F1.